Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto's pain created the ultimate shinobi villain? If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. In the forest near the village hidden in the leaves, a desperate battle was being fought that would affect the destiny not only of Konoha but of all the elemental lands. This battle was ostensibly being fought over the ownership of a precious scroll filled with forbidden jutsus. But though none of the participants realized it, there was something even more precious at stake. The heart and soul of one particular boy. Two bodies collided in the air and both slammed into the ground below. One figure with a scar across his nose grunted in pain. How did you know? There was a puff of smoke, and the figure was revealed to be Mizuki. How did you know I wasn't Iruka? A blonde-haired boy in an orange jumpsuit panted and managed a rough smile. There was a puff of smoke and the boy was revealed to be the real Iruka. Because I am. I see. Mizuki slowly came to his feet and took out a massive shuriken from his back. Iruka also tried to get up, but the many wounds suffered earlier were too much and he remained where he was. I would have let you go, but you deliberately sacrificed yourself to let the brat escape. Why? Because I refused to let a traitor like you have the scroll. Mizuki laughed. So instead you'd rather let that monster have it instead. The monster that killed your parents. Though neither of them knew it, the real Naruto was only about 10 yards away, hidden behind a large tree. He had the scroll he'd been tricked into stealing and could hear every word. There's no way that Demon Fox wouldn't use the power of the scroll, you know. Yeah, that's true, Iruka admitted. Nearby, Naruto felt his heart break. The kind words his sensei had spoken just a moment before, they were a lie. He hates me too. They all hate me. But, sorry Iruka, I need to find the boy and don't have time to waste. Mizuki threw his shuriken. From his hiding spot, Naruto heard the thwunk as the weapon hit its target. He heard the last cry of pain that signaled the end of Iruka-sensei. That Iruka might have said more had he been given the chance to never occurred to Naruto. He was certain his final words had shown how he'd really felt. I'm glad he's dead, Naruto thought viciously. Everyone hates me. Everyone but the old man. At least now I know why. So I have the Kyuubi inside me, huh? Good. Then I really will have the power I need to make them all sorry. In that moment, Naruto made a decision that would have terrible consequences. He decided that he no longer wanted people to acknowledge or respect him. He wanted revenge for everything he had been forced to suffer. He stood up and deliberately walked around to the other side of the tree he was hiding behind. Mizuki looked up in surprise as he yanked out his weapon from Iruka's corpse. So, you figured out you couldn't get away and decided to just give up. That's the smartest thing you could have done. Give me the scroll and I'll let you go. Liar, Naruto spat. You're just like all the rest of them. You all hate me for something that was never my fault. Mizuki laughed a bit and carefully hefted the shuriken. Well, that's true, but whether it's your fault or not doesn't really matter. You are the Demon Fox, that's all that counts. That's fine, he said and formed the ram sign. If we're enemies no matter what, then I'll just kill you. You kill me. Mizuki laughed again and took aim. I'd like to see you try. Naruto performed the hand signs he had studied with such desperate energy the last few hours. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Smoke filled the entire area. When it cleared, there were 200 clones surrounding Mizuki. What? This is impossible. The Naruto's grinned as just one spoke in a low voice. Is anything impossible for me? I am the Kyuubi after all. Like a wave, the clones rushed forward. Mizuki beat off the first dozen but was soon overwhelmed and dragged down. The original Naruto remained calmly in place as his clones beat Mizuki to death. Miles away in the tower, the third Hokage watched the scene play out. Saw Iruka's tragic end as a terrified Naruto was hidden nearby. Then witnessed Naruto come out of hiding to avenge his teacher's death. Sarutobi was surprised to see Naruto capable of such power. He was saddened to see him lose all self-control, but could understand it given the circumstances and the betrayal he'd just undergone. He had missed Naruto's final words to Mizuki. If he had heard them, he would have been even more worried. As it was, things were bad enough. He sent word to his Anbu to escort Naruto and the scroll to him and to recover Mizuki's body. A short time later, a sullen and quiet Naruto was in his office. Physically, the boy was fine. Emotionally, who could guess? Naruto, I want you to tell me what happened. Sarutobi said quietly. There was no reason for him to reveal what he had witnessed. Naruto nodded and began to tell him everything, starting from the conversation with Mizuki where he had been duped into stealing the scroll. He told Sarutobi everything that had happened but was careful not to reveal his thoughts. At the end Sarutobi just stared back at the boy sadly. No, there was no way Naruto could be blamed for anything that had happened tonight. Students were taught to trust in their senseis. Mizuki alone was responsible for this night's tragedy. You must have a lot of questions, Naruto, Sarutobi finally said. You can ask me anything you want. What Mizuki said, was it true? Sarutobi slowly nodded. Yes Naruto, I am afraid it is. In order to preserve the village, the fourth Hokage had to use a special seal to lock the Kyuubi into a newborn child. You were that child. That seal that appears on your belly whenever you mild chakra is proof of that. The Yondaime knew the sacrifice you would be required to make. His final wish was that you be seen as a hero. A hero? Naruto said bitterly. That didn't quite work out, did it? People have treated me like garbage all my life and I never even knew why. Well, at least now I know. He looked at the old Hokage questioningly. Does everyone know? No, shortly after you were born I passed a special law that those who knew the truth could not speak of it to any who did not. I did that with the specific hope that you would be able to have normal friendships with others of your own generation. So you mean all the kids in my class hate me just because? He actually laughed a little. I don't know if that's better or worse than the ones who hate me for what I have inside me. Is it really that bad, Naruto? I always thought you had at least a few friends among your classmates. Naruto gave a vigorous shake of his head. Some of them are less mean than others and just mostly leave me alone. But I don't have a single friend, not one. I tried, I really did, but none of them ever wanted to be friends with me. I should have paid closer attention, Sarutobi thought. He could guess the reason. Likely most of the parents had poisoned their children against him. Either deliberately or not, the children had picked up the attitudes of their parents. What's going to happen to me, old man? Am in trouble for stealing the scroll. No, Sarutobi said in a firm voice. You were the unwitting pawn of Mizuki's. When you did realize the truth, you acted exactly as a ninja should in eliminating a traitor and returning the scroll. In essence, Naruto, you successfully completed a B-rank mission. I intend to have that placed in your record and have you paid in accordance. The old man finally smiled. I also intend to promote you to genin for your actions. He opened a desk drawer and pulled out a shiny new Hitai-ite. Here Naruto, take it, you've certainly earned it. Naruto reached out and took the metal and cloth headband. So I get to be a ninja after all. You certainly do, Naruto. Thank you, old man. Naruto leapt onto the Hokage and hugged him with all his might. Sarutobi looked down at Naruto's honest joy and whatever lingering doubts had been left were dispersed. You're the only one, old man. You're the only one who's been good to me and I'll never forget it. I'll make you proud of me, I swear it. And where Sarutobi could not see, Naruto had a cold smile very different from the ones he was known for. And I'll make everyone else in this village sorry. I swear that too. After talking to the Hokage, he went home and crashed at his dirty little apartment. He was trying to sort through everything in his mind and in his heart. In just one day his entire world had been torn apart. He'd failed the graduation test, been given hope by Mizuki, successfully stolen the forbidden scroll, mastered the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, been rescued from Mizuki by Iruka, been told the truth about what was inside of him, heard Iruka admit he really cared about him, heard Iruka admit he really didn't, heard Iruka die, killed Mizuki, and finally been promoted by the old man. It had been a pretty busy day. He removed the Hitai-ite that was around his forehead so he could look at it. It was just cloth connected to a thin sheet of metal with the leaf symbol stamped on it. It was probably only worth 500 ryu, if that. But the moment he'd received it, it had become his single most precious possession. He wouldn't trade this for a mountain of gold. The third Hokage gave this to me, he said I'd earned it. I'm really a ninja now. A serious look crossed his face as he thought about that. That's right, I'm a ninja now. I can't act like a kid anymore. No more dumb pranks, no more pleading for attention, or whining about how things aren't fair. I have to stop fooling around and be really serious about things. That's the only way I'll reach my dreams. He had two dreams now. One was to make the old man really proud of him. The other was to become Hokage and make every last person in this village kneel down before him. To hell with making them acknowledge me, I'll make them worship me instead. I'll make them fear me and obey my every command. He smiled wickedly there in his darkened room. After all, I am the Kyuubi, right? The most powerful being to ever walk this earth. I'll make them worship me even if they do all hate me. When he fell asleep that night he had a dream. He found himself in the forest again. There in the clearing he found the bodies of Iruka and Mizuki, the latter was almost unrecognizable. He also had the scroll again. Standing there a voice called to him from the dark woods. You did good, kid, much better than I'd have ever expected. Who's there? Naruto called out fearfully. The figure walked out of the darkness and into the clear pale moonlight. Well, I'm you, and the Kyuubi. But you're the Kyuubi, right? The other Naruto laughed as if it were the funniest joke in the world. He was an exact copy of Naruto, except that his eyes were red and slitted. What are you? A clone. I told you what I am, I'm the Kyuubi. And since you're the Kyuubi I must be part of you, right? Looking closely at his other self he couldn't help but feel dread creeping over him. There was something scary about this clone, and it wasn't just the red eyes. He wanted to run away, he wanted to get as far away as he could as fast as he could. But he stamped down hard on that feeling. Ninjas didn't run away and they didn't get scared. If you're me you know what happened and what I plan to do. The other Naruto nodded gleefully. I sure do, kid, and I'm here to help. You want power? I'll give you power, and I'll help you to your goal. Naruto frowned suspiciously. If you're really a part of me why do you keep saying, you, and calling me a kid? I hate that. Must be because I've been asleep so long that I haven't fully integrated with you yet, the other Naruto said smoothly. The important thing is that I represent all the Kyuubi's power and knowledge. I can help you, all you need to do is listen to my advice. Naruto wasn't sure just what to make of this other self, but he was willing to at least listen. What's your advice? First, you need to keep our knowing each other a secret. You've seen how much people hate you just for being the Kyuubi. If they find out that you've gained access to the Kyuubi's full power and knowledge they'll kill you. Naruto shivered. He'd been badly beaten many times as a child and been chased by angry mobs. It was not hard to imagine the people taking that last step and actually killing him. All right, but how can you help me if I can't use your power? Put a frog in a boiling pot and he will jump out. But put him in a warm pot and raise the heat a bit at a time and he'll stay until he's cooked. The other Naruto smiled wickedly. Starting tomorrow you'll have a major boost in the amount of chakra you can use, and I'll keep increasing it a bit at a time. Your healing and stamina are already quite advanced. I'll boost your physical strength and agility too. Your senses will all be sharper, especially your sense of smell. I'll also help you with your memory. Here the other Naruto sighed with impatience. I can't transplant my memories to you, and anyway there isn't much there that would be useful to a human. But from here on out you won't forget things, anything you see even once you'll remember. So learn everything you can and pay attention. You can use your clones to learn even faster. Whatever your clones experience you'll remember. He nodded to the scroll the true Naruto was holding. You can start by studying that while you sleep. Huh, but why? I already learned the Kage Bunshin. Idiot, he growled. There are a dozen jutsus on that scroll, all of them are S-ranked. Have you forgotten you unrolled it and looked at all of them? Of course not. I wound up studying the Kage Bunshin because the rest were even more impossible to figure out. Anything I see even once I remember. That scroll is an exact copy of the real one. While you sleep you can learn those jutsus. Even if it takes a while they will prove immensely useful to you. Naruto looked at the large scroll with sudden interest. Some of those other jutsus looked really intriguing. Especially the exploding clone and divine wind techniques. Now one last thing, don't reveal yourself to them yet. You're not strong enough. What do you mean? I mean play the happy idiot a while longer, at least until you're powerful enough to stop wearing masks. You can drop the pranks and the constant need for attention, people will expect you to be more serious now that you're considered an adult. But continue to smile and pretending you still care what others think. Grudgingly Naruto nodded. His late unlamented teacher Iruka had often told them that deception was the lifeblood of ninja. He'd survived up until now by wearing a cheerful mask. He supposed he could keep wearing it. The next day Naruto took his photo for the ninja registry and had a short meeting with the Hokage afterwards. As he was leaving, a little kid ran in shouting something about attacking the Hokage just before tripping over his own feet. Not caring, he left quickly. He found an empty piece of ground and spent most of the day using his clones to practice taijutsu. The day after, he skipped breakfast and reported to the academy one last time to receive his team assignment. Walking into the classroom, he picked up an excited buzz from the others. They were all eagerly talking to one another about their hopes for the future. No one bothered to come up to him. Climbing the steps, Shikamaru finally noticed him. "Naruto, what are you doing here? Class today is only for the students who actually passed." His immediate instinct was to ask the jerk if he was blind and lazy. Instead though, he gave the other boy a wide smile and tapped his ite. "See for yourself, I did pass." Shikamaru lifted an eyebrow, then grunted and put his head back down, apparently saying anything more would be too troublesome. Naruto found an empty seat on the aisle and sat down. He noted who the other person sitting in the section was and promptly ignored him. About a minute later, there was a shout from the doorway and two high-pitched voices began to shrill an argument about who had got there first. Naruto looked at the two girls. He dismissed the rude blonde and focused on the equally rude pink-haired girl. Just 2 days ago his heart would have been racing right now and he'd have been gathering up his courage to try asking her out, again. Though his heart still ached a little, he decided he would not waste any more time with her. He had treated her as well as he knew how to, and in return she had never even given him one kind word. Even if she had no interest in ever dating him, she could have at least done that much. Well, after today I won't have to deal with her anymore. He glanced down the table, or the gloomy princess either. "Move, Naruto. I want to sit next to Sasuke." Sakura screeched at him. He gave her a wide smile and scooted his chair forward. "Sure, Sakura-chan." She didn't spare him even a look. She just sat down in the middle seat and immediately began telling her uppity prince how wonderful he was. As usual, Mr. Personality ignored her. Looking at the scene, he couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Sasuke had everything he'd ever wanted and seemed to make a point of showing people that none of it mattered to him. The bastard should at least appreciate how lucky he is. Sasuke noticed his staring and deemed him worthy of a questioning glance. Naruto sent him a huge smile and Sasuke promptly ignored him again. After a while, Gecko Hayate entered the classroom with a clipboard. He was another of the teachers and familiar to all of them. "Please, settle down everyone. I, will be the one assigning you to your teams and senseis." Naruto noticed he didn't say a word about why he was here doing this instead of Iruka or Mizuki. A few students wondered aloud about that, but no one thought it important enough to actually ask about. Most were just excited to find out where they were being assigned and with whom. Naruto didn't notice it, but a shy girl in the back row was looking over at him and pressing her fingers together. She was hoping she would end up on a team with him. As Hayate named the teams and the various senseis, Naruto found himself listening as excitedly as anyone else. "Team 7, Hayate said. Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto looked up eagerly. "Haruno Sakura." Sakura slumped in her seat and let out a moan. Naruto glanced at her coldly but otherwise did not react. "And Uchiha Sasuke, your Jonin instructor will be Hatake Kakashi." Both Naruto and Sasuke remained outwardly unaffected. Sakura jumped up and shouted with joy even as most of the other girls looked on jealously. "Oh yeah, I'm with Sasuke-kun." The two boys sent her identical looks of annoyance. When they saw they were mirroring each other, they both looked away again. "I really am Kami's chew toy, aren't I?" Naruto thought glumly. This was the worst possible combination for him. He was stuck with the superior jerk who thought the whole village was beneath him and with his former crush who would obviously side against him in everything. Anything else would be better, even being stuck with loud vain Ino, or the lazy idiot, or the rude kid with the puppy. He knew complaining now would do no good. He thought about going to talk to the Hokage later, but immediately dumped the idea. He couldn't keep running to the old man for help. If he was really going to make the old man proud, he needed to start handling things on his own. "All right," Hayate said once the teams were all listed. "You are now free for the next hour, so go have lunch. Be back in 1 hour's time to meet your senseis." Naruto left immediately to go get some ramen at his favorite place. He knew Sasuke would have no interest in eating with his new teammates and that Sakura would want to eat alone with Sasuke. Neither of them noticed or cared as he left. Coming back from Ichiraku's, Naruto was surprised to see Sakura out in the courtyard. He was even more surprised when she spotted him and hurried up to greet him. For a second, just 1 second, he felt hope flutter to life in his heart. Maybe now that they were teammates she would accept him as a friend and comrade. Getting even that much from her would make him very happy. But the second she opened her mouth her angry tone killed his momentary hope. "Hey Naruto Baka, I want to talk to you." "What about Sakura?" he said in a cold flat voice. Since no one else was around he decided to dump the mask for a bit. The girl actually blinked and did a double take. "What did you say to me?" she barked. He crossed his arms over his chest and gave his former crush a hard look. "I asked you what you wanted to talk to me about. Whatever it is, just go ahead and tell me. I don't want to be late for meeting our sensei." She stared at him, not believing his reaction. He was always loud and annoying and trying to come between her and Sasuke. Where the hell had this sudden attitude come from? I want you to know that I'm going to be with Sasuke. Don't get in my way or I'll make you regret it." She'd spent the entire lunch period eating alone, hoping Sasuke would come over and talk to her. He'd actually passed by a couple minutes ago. He'd gone right past her without so much as a word. Obviously winning his love would be hard, but she was determined to do it no matter what. And part of that was making sure Naruto Baka didn't get in the way. Naruto stood there and looked at her. Sakura imagined the air around her was suddenly chilly and rubbed her arms. "You know Sakura, I never realized how loud and annoying you were." "Wah, what?" she spat out. He walked past her. "Lunch is over, don't be late." She stood there rooted to the spot staring at his back as Naruto walked away from her. It seemed as though the idiot had finally figured out he had no chance with her. She knew she should have been happy. Without his interference things with her and Sasuke would go much more smoothly. Yet somehow hearing Naruto be so cold to her, it hurt, just a little. She shook her head angrily. "What the hell am I thinking? I'm glad Naruto doesn't like me anymore. Sasuke is all that matters." She marched back to class and tried to forget that weird feeling of sadness. They were the last ones in the classroom. All the other senseis had been waiting there to collect their teams when lunch ended. 2 hours later though, Team 7 was still waiting. They were all sitting in different rows, about as far apart as possible. Naruto had deliberately picked a different seat when he returned. Sakura had sat beside Sasuke of course, but as soon as the room had emptied he had turned to her and asked her to give him some room. At that point she wouldn't have minded too much if Naruto had wanted to talk to her a little, but he'd remained as silent as Sasuke. She sent a curious glance his way. Since when was Naruto like this? He'd always been filled with compliments, always eager to tell her she was pretty or smelled nice or that she was smart. Why had he suddenly stopped? When he noticed her looking at him, he deliberately looked away. Sighing, she looked back up at the clock. They'd spent the last 40 minutes sitting here in silence waiting. Looking at how apart they all were, she suddenly wondered just what sort of team they were going to be. 2 hours after all the other teams had gone, Hitaki Kakashi slid open the classroom door and popped his head in. 3 young faces turned to look at him. A dark-haired boy looked utterly disinterested. A blonde was trying to smile but was clearly hiding his anger. A pink-haired girl made no effort to hide her own anger. "You're late," she shouted. Ignoring her, he nodded to them. "All right, Team 7, meet me on the roof in 2 minutes." He vanished before them in a swirl of wind and leaves. 2 minutes later he was facing his students on the academy rooftop. They were all staring back at him silently. My first impression, you seem a little hostile." "That's because you kept us waiting 2 whole hours." Sakura shouted. "Why were you so late?" Beneath his mask Kakashi smiled. "Oh, I would have been here on time but a black cat kept crossing my path." Sakura's jaw dropped. "Are you really a jonin?" Sasuke asked dryly. Naruto continued to stare at him without comment. "Tough crowd," Kakashi muttered. "Well, let's begin with introductions. Tell me your names, your dreams, your likes and dislikes." "Isn't it considered rude to ask someone for their name without giving yours first?" Sasuke asked. The jonin shrugged. "Fair enough. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. There are lots of things I like and dislike, and my dreams are none of your business." "Wait, All you really told us was your name. Sakura objected. Yes, he said with a hidden smile. Now let me hear from all of you. Why don't we start with the one dressed like a street cone? You have something against orange? Naruto asked in a friendly voice. Not at all. I sometimes paint my bullseyes that color to make them easier to see. Sasuke snorted and Sakura laughed out loud. Naruto kept smiling but his eyes were not in tune with his mouth. You're not nearly as good at hiding your feelings as you think, Naruto. Ignoring the reaction of his new teammates, Naruto spoke up in a light, carefree voice. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, training, and the old man. I hate anyone who hates me. At this point he sent a deliberate look Sakura's way. The girl did not miss it and shrank away from him a little. Kakashi did not miss the look or the reaction. As for dreams, I have two. I want to make the Hokage proud of me. And I want to be Hokage myself one day. Why? Kakashi asked judiciously. Naruto broadened his smile. So that I can punish all ninja who are more than 10 minutes late to a meeting. That got light laughs from both Sasuke and Sakura. Kakashi decided to let it go, but there was something about Naruto that was troubling. Now the little lady. My name is Haruno Sakura. My dream is, she looked at Sasuke and began to giggle. What I like is, she again looked in Sasuke's direction only to burst into a fit of giggles. What I hate is, she looked at Naruto and saw he looking right back. I don't really hate anything or anyone, I guess. Seeing the interaction he frowned. Marvelous, she's a fangirl of one boy and skittish about the other. And finally, Sasuke grunted and answered. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. There are lots of things I dislike and I don't really like anything. I can't really call it a dream, but I do have an ambition. I want to resurrect my clan and kill a certain man. Naruto looked at the boy and tried not to sneer. Big talk, I know what it's like to kill. About what I expected, Kakashi thought a bit sadly. Well, that was certainly enlightening. All right, we'll begin tomorrow at 6 a.m. sharp. What will our first mission be, sensei? Sakura asked. Actually, it won't be a mission, it will be a test of your survival skills. This test will pit you against me and it will determine if any of you are fit to be genin. A test? Sensei, I don't understand, Sakura said. We just had our test to be ninja a couple days ago. Chuckling, Kakashi shook his head. Oh, that. The academy graduation test is only meant to weed out the hopeless. Only a complete no talent could possibly fail it. Naruto silently clenched his fists and tightened his gaze. He was already starting to dislike this teacher. The test I'm about to give you is the one that determines if you will become ninja or not. What happens to the ones who fail? Sasuke asked. They'll be sent back to the academy for additional training, Kakashi noted gleefully. If you want to become real ninja, you'll have to prove yourselves tomorrow against me. Come to training ground 1 by 6 sharp with all your weapons and gear. Oh, and don't eat breakfast. Why not? Sakura asked. I wouldn't want you vomiting all over the place. I will see you tomorrow. He disappeared in a swirl of wind and leaves. Hey Sasuke-kun, want to get some dinner and go over strategies with me? No, he said and shuffled away. I'm passing tomorrow no matter what. I can't let these two drag me down. Disappointed, she decided to talk to her other teammate. Say Naruto, you know I don't really hate. Naruto was already gone. That night 20 shadow clones swarmed all over training ground 1 while the original Naruto studied forbidden jutsu in his dreams. The Kyuubi kept careful watch and grinned. He knew it was too soon to get the brat to tear off his seal, he would need to carefully manipulate him until the time was right. But being an immortal Biju, he knew how to be patient. The alarm clock went off at 5:15. As Naruto woke up, he groggily made his way to the bathroom. All the bunchins he'd sent out last night had dispelled once they were done with their work. With all their memories, he now had a good idea of the training ground 1's terrain and all the best spots for possible ambushes. He also knew where all the things his clones had set up were. After a hot shower and getting dressed in his beloved orange jumpsuit, he packed on his supplies, including a whole bunch of brand new equipment. He then performed a jutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 30 clones came to life packing the tiny apartment. They fled out the door and window and raced to training ground 1. Naruto grinned. He had no idea what the test involved, only that it had something to do with survival training and would pit him and his new team against their sensei. Whatever happened, he intended to pass today. There was no way he was going back to the academy. He went out into the still dark morning filled with excitement. At the very center of the training ground were 3 old wooden posts. Naruto headed straight for them. Not wanting to be late, he'd gotten here a full 15 minutes early. He had also skipped breakfast as he'd been told to. He was surprised to see he wasn't the first one to arrive. Sitting cross-legged in front of the middle post, Sasuke eyed him as he entered the clearing. "Sasuke," he said with a polite nod. "Naruto," Sasuke answered. That was it for the conversation between them. Naruto leaned against the post to Sasuke's right and waited. A few minutes later Sakura arrived. She eagerly sat down next to Sasuke and began talking to him. "Are you excited about the test, Sasuke-kun?" "No." Yeah, me neither. "Do you think it will be really hard?" "Probably." "Yeah, I think so too, but as long as you're here I'm sure we'll pass. Even if we have to put up with Naruto to do it." "Shut your mouth, Sakura." Both Sakura and Sasuke looked over at him in surprise. What did you say?" Sakura got up to her feet and began shaking a fist at him. She had clobbered him for a lot less than that. He looked at her with cold blue eyes and spoke with a harsh voice she had never imagined him to have. "I'm standing right here, there's no reason for you to insult me. I know I'm not your precious little Sasuke-kun, but that doesn't mean I'll be your whipping boy anymore. We're all ninja now and on the same team, start treating me with a little respect. Especially since I'm going to be Hokage one day. Like an idiot like you could ever be Hokage," she shouted. The way he'd treated her yesterday had caught her totally off guard. But having had some time to think about it, she had decided to remind him of his place. She would not be talked down to by a fool like him. Especially not in front on Sasuke. "You've been saying that for years now and I'm sick of it. You should be grateful just to be on a team with me and Sasuke. Do you even know how lucky you are?" He laughed. "Oh, I know I'm lucky, I have lots of luck, all of it bad." "Naruto," she growled and took a step towards him, obviously intent on delivering another of her beatings. But to her surprise he did not cower or run as he always did. He stepped towards her and took a fighting stance. "Don't start something unless you're ready to finish it, Haruno." She froze. This person standing in front of her couldn't be the same boy she'd shared a class with for the last 4 years, impossible. The way he was looking at her made her feel afraid. "Knock it off, both of you." Sasuke was still seated. "Do you really want to start a fight right before our test?" He looked at Sakura. "The Dobi has a point, he is our teammate now, and you are going to have to treat him a little differently." He then turned to Naruto. "As for you, if you want respect dead last, earn it." "I'm sorry, Sasuke-kun." She immediately bowed in apology, to Sasuke not to Naruto, and sat back down. Naruto stared down at the serene Uchiha. "I'm not the dead last anymore." "We'll see." "Yeah, we will, you arrogant jerk." He went back to his post and decided to sit down. The 3 of them waited in silence as the night sky was starting to lighten. Better than 3 hours later the sun was now well above the horizon and they were still waiting. "I wonder if he ran into another black cat," Naruto muttered. That actually drew a small chuckle from Sasuke. Naruto checked his watch again, it was 9:12. His stomach let out a small growl. "Okay, enough of this crap." He reached into a pouch and pulled out something in a plain brown wrapper. Tearing it open he had what looked like a granola bar. "Hey, what's that?" Sakura asked. "It's a rations bar," Naruto explained. "This is what real ninja carry out in the field. 1 bar gives you all the energy and nutrition you need for a whole day." Sakura rolled her eyes. "I know it's a rations bar, idiot. What are you doing with it?" "What do you think I'm going to do with it, genius?" He bit into it and started to slowly chew it. It took him a while and he needed some water to finally get it down. It's like eating wood paste. Sensei told us not to eat anything. Wrong, he said not to have breakfast, Naruto pointed out. I didn't know how long this test would take, so I brought food with me in case it was an all-day thing. And anyway, after keeping us waiting twice, I'm not worried about what he said. Naruto took another big bite. It tasted lousy, but at least it filled your stomach. As she watched him cram the rest of the bar in his mouth, Sakura was reminded of how hungry she was. I don't suppose you have any more, do you? He looked at her knowingly. I might, why? He wants to hear me beg. Cha, like that's going to happen. No, no reason. Naruto shrugged and drank some water from his canteen to get rid of the taste. Just before 10, Kakashi came strolling along with a large alarm clock and 2 bentos in his arms. You're late. Sakura howled and jumped up. Naruto and Sasuke came to their feet as well. Sorry, I got lost on the road of life. He nonchalantly placed the alarm clock and bentos atop the middle post and pressed down the timer. There, it's set for noon. From one of the pouches on his vest he took out 2 shiny objects on strings. Your task is to take these 2 bells from me before time expires. Anyone who fails to get a bell will be tied up and not allowed to eat a lunch. But more importantly, they will automatically fail and be sent back for remedial training at the academy. But sensei, Sakura spoke up. There are only 2 bells. Kakashi nodded his head merrily. Good observation, Sakura. That of course means that at most only 2 of you can pass this test. The 3 students all looked at one another. They had all come here assuming the test was meant for them to pass or fail as a team. Now it looked like it was every man for himself. Naruto and Sasuke were both determined to get a bell no matter what. Sakura was determined to get one with Sasuke so that their love would have a chance to survive. All 3 of them looked at each other with open mistrust. And here we go again, Kakashi thought sadly. You are free to use any weapons or techniques you know. Come at me with the intent to kill or you won't stand a chance. If we kill you, do we get in trouble? Naruto asked and sounded completely serious. Kakashi lifted an eyebrow. He knew the boy had taken out Mizuki. He seems pretty eager to kill another sensei. If you can kill me, not only will you not get in trouble but you'll be guaranteed promotion. Kakashi did not like the way Naruto grinned at hearing that. Somehow I don't think he'll have any trouble coming at me with the intent to kill. He didn't think Sasuke would have that problem either given his serious and brooding gaze. Sakura though was already looking nervous. Well then, ready, steady, go. 4 figures leapt away and out of sight. Naruto had noticed a weakness in the Kage Bunshin jutsu. At the time the clones were created they knew everything the original knew. Plans and detailed orders could be given without a word being spoken. When the clone vanished, the original gained all his knowledge and experience. But in the time between there was no connection between him and his clones. If he wanted them to know what he knew now, he would have to physically tell them. If he could have somehow maintained a mental connection to his clones while they existed, he could have passed on everything Kakashi had said and also fine-tuned his plans. As it was, he'd sent them out with just a general notion of what would happen. Also, he couldn't sense his own clones, he had to hope they had gotten where he needed them. This jutsu would kick even more butt if I could maintain a connection with all of them. When I start inventing my own jutsus, I'll work on that. But that was for the future. Right now he needed to get one of those bells to pass this test. He closed his eyes and took a deep whiff of the air. It was hard to distinguish, but he could smell his own scent from the nearby trees. He thought perhaps 15 to 20 of his clones were nearby. As Naruto watched, Kakashi leapt down from his hiding spot and casually began to stroll along a clearing, obviously inviting attack. Naruto held back. Despite what Sakura and a lot of people thought, he wasn't an idiot. His poor grades had been the result of indifferent teachers and his own lack of interest. Now that he had decided to get serious about things, he was using his brain and not just acting on impulse. Kakashi was a jonin. In Konoha only about 1 ninja in every 50 achieved that rank. To have made it to such an elite status, he had to have skills despite his lackadaisical attitude thus far. Know your enemy and know yourself, and in 1,000 battles you shall never be in danger. That was a quote from an ancient general that was also the 50th rule of ninja conduct. Before he attacked, he wanted to see what his enemy could do. And if he knew Sasuke. Out of some nearby branches several kunai and shuriken flew. They caught Kakashi unprepared and riddled his chest and arms. Then there was a puff of smoke and a log appeared in his place. Naruto nodded. As he'd expected, Sasuke had gone ahead and attacked. The arrogant bastard probably thought he could beat Kakashi single-handed just because he was an Uchiha. As he watched, Kakashi leapt back down into the open again. This time he simply stood there. He even took out a book and seemed to be reading. Sasuke leapt down from his own hiding spot and approached him. "What are you doing?" Sasuke demanded. Kakashi glanced up from his reading material. Oh, I just want to see how this chapter ends. You can go ahead and attack me, it shouldn't make any difference. With a furious shout, Sasuke went at him. He delivered a series of kicks and punches that actually forced Kakashi to momentarily toss aside his book and concentrate on the fight. As he blocked a leaping kick from Sasuke, the boy was in position to reach for the bells that were now tied to his belt and just missed them. Kakashi leapt back and nodded at him with surprise. Not bad, Sasuke, you definitely do the Uchiha clan proud, but still not quite good enough. Sasuke, a girl shouted. Sakura ran over to his side, a kunai in her hand. Though her knees were shaking slightly, she faced Kakashi with a determined look. Sasuke-kun, let's get the bells together so we can stay a team. Oh, and what about your other teammate? Kakashi inquired innocently. What about him? Sakura asked. Sasuke-kun is the only one who matters. If one of us has to fail, it should be Naruto. I don't care what happens to him anyway. Beneath his mask, Kakashi frowned. Naruto was close enough to hear every word. Her attitude didn't surprise him or hurt him. It just confirmed what he'd finally realized, that trying to befriend people was a waste of time. Sasuke looked over at her and at the way she was shaking and how she was holding her kunai. With a grim expression, he stepped up beside her. I'm sorry, Sakura. With a clean motion, he delivered a hard chop right to the back of her head. Sakura gasped and dropped right in front of him. From his hiding spot, Naruto widened his eyes. Whoa, he's even more of a bastard than I thought. If Naruto's reaction was surprise, Kakashi's was as well, with a large measure of disgust and fury as well. What did you just do? Why did you attack your teammate? She's not ready to be a ninja yet, he said stoically. It'll be safer for her to go back to the academy. If she were to fight beside me, she'd only get in my way, she wouldn't even make a decent diversion. Oh, I see, Kakashi spoke. For some reason there was a bitter resentment in his voice. Some teammates are worth helping and some are not. I'm an Avenger, Sasuke spoke solemnly. I have to acquire power as fast as I can't let anyone get in the way of that. Kakashi looked at him with his single eye. I take back what I said a moment ago about you making your clan proud. You're trash, Sasuke. No, you're lower than trash. The proud Uchiha stood there for a second in shock. Then furiously started to perform hand signs. He never got a chance to finish his jutsu. Kakashi covered the space separating them in the blink of an eye and delivered a kick into Sasuke's gut that sent him flying with a cry of pain. While still in the air, Kakashi drove his fist right into the boy's face, smashing him into the ground and leaving his bloodied and unconscious. With the fight now over in spectacular fashion, the Jonin-sensei did a quick check on Sasuke's pulse and Sakura's. Apparently satisfied, he walked away from where they were before again taking out his book. So I guess it's my turn now. Kakashi looked up to see he was surrounded by about 200 clones. Sighing, the sensei carefully put away his book. Yes it is, show me what you can do, Naruto. Yes it is, show me what you can do, Naruto. At those words every one of the clones grinned. In the next second a hail of kunai and shuriken came at him from all directions. I see he really is taking the whole intent to kill thing seriously. Kakashi was punctured by 100 different weapons. His form vanished in a puff of smoke to be replaced by another log. The clones halted their attacks and began looking around. From a nearby tree, Kakashi noted the lack of panic on the part of the clones. Obviously he hadn't expected that opening attack to actually take him out. Kakashi had read the personnel files on all three of his students. Nothing in Naruto's had even hinted he was capable of this level of organization and self-control. He knew of course from the Hokage that Naruto had gained the Kage Bunshin and used it to kill the traitor Mizuki. But that didn't explain the sternness of attitude that was on display. According to his file, Naruto was hot-tempered, emotional, reckless, and overconfident. None of those personality traits were on display at the moment. Did the incident with Mizuki change him that much? Kakashi wondered. Or was he always hiding his real self? He's up there. One of the clones suddenly shouted. More kunai and shuriken forced him to leap out of his hiding place. I'm not Mizuki, you know, he said pleasantly. He took out 6 or 7 clones as he landed. I know, the original called out. He was standing in the same spot watching as his clones surged after Kakashi. That's why I'll only kill you if I have to. The clones came at him, all of them with kunai in their hands. Despite their numbers they weren't much of a threat. With superior strength, speed, and fighting ability he had no trouble taking out the clones as they got near. Dozens exploded into smoke as more came forward to take their place. Kakashi kept leaping back to make sure none of them got behind him. I'm afraid frontal attacks won't. Snap. He felt a wire break beneath his foot. He sensed more than felt the danger and leapt up just in time to avoid a tree branch swinging down. Had he been in that spot he would have been mashed against the tree trunk and probably knocked out. At the very least he'd have been hurt and slowed. You set up a trap. That's AACK. The ground he landed on gave way and he fell into a pit. Actually I set up about 50 traps, the original said smugly. Doing pranks teaches you how to prepare. Before his clones could reach the pit though, Kakashi leapt out and onto a nearby tree branch. Damn it, Naruto thought. I should have filled the pit with sharpened stakes. But I didn't think it would be okay to kill him. Oh well, it can't be helped. He watched as Kakashi was again forced to jump to avoid being turned into a pincushion. The fact he'd lost so many clones didn't matter at all. For all the Jonin's superior skill he was being pushed in the direction Naruto wanted. Kakashi again landed facing the oncoming clones. He didn't set off any traps this time. But instead 3 clones jumped him from behind. These were not among the 200 he had started with which Kakashi had kept careful track of. No, these were among the 30 he had created early this morning specifically for this reason. They held his arms momentarily in place. If he could not form hand signs he could not work a substitution and escape. Another of his clones leapt and delivered a punch to the immobilized Kakashi's face. Only to have him vanish in a puff of smoke. The original Naruto gasped. No way. How did you? Without warning Kakashi popped out of the ground behind him. Naruto had no chance to react before receiving a hard punch to the back of his head. He was turned off like a light and dropped to the ground. Throughout the training ground there were pops as all his clones were dispelled. Checking his pulse, Kakashi confirmed the boy was only unconscious. He tossed him over one shoulder and headed back to where Sasuke and Sakura were peacefully resting. A loud ringing woke him up. There was an ache in the back of his skull. As he slowly came fully awake he realized his arms were bound tight and he was tied to one of the poles. Looking over he saw that Sasuke and Sakura were in a similar state. You know I don't usually eat so much for lunch, but I did have a decent workout. Kakashi adjusted his mask as he stood up. 2 empty bentos were at his feet. He glanced at Naruto. I actually worked up quite an appetite thanks to you. I have to admit you did pretty well. Going over to the central post where Sasuke was tied he shut off the alarm. Of course you still failed in the end. Naruto glared at him. How did you get away at the end? I know you didn't work a jutsus I had your arms held. The me you caught was a cage bunshin I created when I was in that pit and momentarily out of your line of sight. I actually worked an earth-style jutsu to get underneath you. The main mistake you made was just standing there like you did while you let your clones do the work. It pointed the real you out to me. If you hadn't done that I wouldn't have known which you to take out. Kakashi came over to him and leaned in close. You're not as clever as you think, Naruto, Kakashi said in a low whisper just for him. Naruto looked back at him and got the definite feeling the Jonin knew a lot more than he was letting on. Sasuke was curious about what he was hearing. He'd been unconscious and completely missed Naruto's fight. He'd assumed the dobi would have lasted all of about 10 seconds, but from what Kakashi was saying it actually sounded like he had given a good performance. That wasn't important now. I want another chance, Sasuke said in a low growl. That wasn't a fair test of my skills. Kakashi looked at him with a happy smile hidden away. There's nothing fair about a ninja's life or career, get used to it. As for another chance you'll all get one, in 6 months once you complete remedial training. He stepped back and gave them a dramatic thumbs down. You all fail. Not only do you fail but I have to tell you that of the 6 teams have been asked to test you were by far the worst of the lot. Don't put me in the same category as Sakura and the dobi. Sasuke said angrily. I'm not like them. Well that's true, Kakashi admitted. They aren't lower than trash. Sasuke looked furious enough to bite through his ropes. Don't call me that. I'm an Uchiha. How dare you say that to me? Being an Uchiha doesn't make you deserving of respect, Sasuke, Kakashi said sadly. Though a lot of the people of this village seem to have forgotten that. Whether you should be respected or not is based solely on what you do and not on who you are. Sasuke looked sullen but kept quiet. Tell me, do any of you even know what the purpose to this test was? Duh, to try and get the bells of course. Naruto snapped. Wrong. The real goal wasn't to get the bells. All three of them looked at him blankly. Then what was it, sensei? Sakura asked in a timid voice. What had happened had completely shattered her self-confidence. Teamwork, Kakashi snapped. The entire point of this was to see if you could come together and work as a team. What do you mean work as a team? Naruto yelled. Being beaten and tied up like a pig at market was seriously irritating him. There were only 2 bells and you said from the start that only 2 of us could pass. Kakashi merely nodded. That's right, the test was deliberately set up to turn you against one another. The object was to see if any of you could overcome your own self-interests and put the need of your team first. But instead, he turned to Sakura. You decided that Sasuke was the only one worth fighting for. From your own mouth you said you didn't care about what happened to Naruto. Just because you don't personally like someone doesn't mean you turn your back on them. In your ninja career you will be assigned to all sorts of missions with different teams made up of different personalities. Are you expecting to like every single person you work with? You need to watch out for all those you work with, not just the ones you happen to like. You don't get to just pick and choose who's worthy of your help. Ashamed by this critical, and accurate, description of her, she put her head down in shame. He next turned to Naruto. Your skills are pretty advanced and as an individual ninja you did better than any other candidate I've tested before. Sasuke looked up, not believing what he was hearing. The Dobi did that well. But, I noticed that all your elaborate plans didn't include your teammates. Obviously you must have set up those traps before I explained the test to you. At a time when you would have assumed it was a team test with all of you passing or failing together. Did you at least try and form a plan with the others? No, he answered brusquely. And why not? Because if I'd tried to I would have just been ignored, he said bitterly. The Tem wouldn't have wanted to listen to any plan I came up with and Sakura would have just gone along with her, Sasuke-kun. Hearing the extreme bitterness in his voice, Sakura looked over at him. Have I really been that unfair? She had never ever thought about it from his side. Never stopped to think how her shouts and punches might have affected him. He was an obstacle between her and Sasuke and that was all. But after what Sasuke had done, all her assumptions were now open to question. From what I've seen that's probably true, Kakashi said. Sakura flinched at his judgment while Sasuke had no reaction. But you might have tried and put the team ahead of yourself. You also could have joined in with Sasuke and Sakura. Instead you deliberately chose to stand back and watch. I wanted to see how strong you were before I made my move, Naruto said defensively. Scouting the enemy isn't a bad tactic, Kakashi said. But I can't agree with deliberately sacrificing your teammates to gain a personal advantage. He turned to look at Sasuke. And finally there is you, the Avenger. Kakashi looked hard at him. You attacked your own teammate Sasuke, for no other reason than you thought she would get in your way. Let me tell you something, Uchiha Sasuke. In the world of the ninja those who violate the rules and laws are called trash. However, those who don't take care of their comrades are worse than trash. And that is what you are. Kakashi turned around and slowly walked away. We're done now. All of you report back to the academy tomorrow morning at 10. You'll be permitted to take the test again once you complete 6 months remedial training. Sensei, Sakura called out. Aren't you going to untie us? No, any ninja should be an escape artist, you're on your own. And with that he leapt away and was gone. The ropes were so tight that they barely permitted any movement at all. Because he was stronger than he should have been, Naruto had more luck moving his arms than the others. After 10 minutes he finally got a hand on one of his kunai. After 10 more minutes he cut through one of the ropes and was able to free himself. Sasuke looked at him and didn't say a word. Naruto was not surprised. He knew Sasuke would rather die of thirst than ask anyone for help, especially not from the idiot dead last. Sakura looked over at him sadly. I don't suppose you'd cut me loose, would you? Naruto then did something that truly surprised her. He smiled and nodded. Sure, Sakura-chan, no problem. He came over and began slicing into her ropes. After only a minute she was able to wriggle free. Rubbing her arms she looked at him and lowered her eyes, feeling ashamed. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I thought you hated me. I did, he said, making her flinch a bit. But if we can, I'd like to start over. He held out his hand to her. I know we're not teammates anymore, but who knows? Maybe we will be again. Let's be friends, Sakura-chan, and if we ever become teammates again, let's watch out for each other. Smiling with relief, she gladly took his hand. Naruto, I'd like that. And I'm so sorry for the way I've treated you. Please forgive me, you didn't deserve any of it. It's already forgiven, Sakura-chan. His warm smile set her mind at ease. This was the Naruto she remembered. His kunai still in hand, he turned to Sasuke. Come on, help me cut him down. I didn't ask for help, Sasuke said loudly. Naruto sighed and began cutting the rope. I know, but even if the team's been dissolved, think of this as one comrade taking care of another, okay? You don't have to ask, and I don't expect any thanks. That's right, Sakura agreed and cut with her own kunai. Even if it's too late, let's act like teammates should now. She looked up at him. I forgive you for hitting me, Sasuke. She quickly lowered her eyes again to concentrate on freeing him. He was soon released and out of the ropes. Sasuke rubbed his arms a bit and looked at Naruto and Sakura. Thanks, he said quickly and quietly. Well, this is a surprise. Kakashi leapt out of the woods. I honestly didn't think the three of you would listen to what I said. Sakura looked at him in surprise. Sensei, what are you doing here? I thought you had long gone. Actually, I've been observing you this whole time. I decided to give you one last chance to pass my test. What do you mean? Sakura asked. I mean, I wanted to see if you would show you cared for your teammates when you thought there was nothing to gain by it. I am very pleased to see that maybe you get it. This doesn't make up for your behavior while trying to get the bells, but it's enough to make me at least reconsider. Does that mean we pass? Sasuke asked. What it means is that I'll take you on as a team for a probationary period, he told them. Instead of spending the next 6 months at the academy, I'll let you act as an active squad. However, if I see any signs you are forgetting what you've learned here today, I'll disband Team 7 and send all of you back to the academy. Is that clear? They all nodded their heads. Very well then, under those conditions Team 7 passes. We'll meet tomorrow at the small footbridge near the academy at 10 to begin our first mission. As the three new genin all shouted in triumph, Kakashi carefully eyes Naruto. His actions had surprised him, and it was mainly due to his words to Sakura and Sasuke that he had decided to give them a chance. But he couldn't help but feel there was something off about the boy and the way he behaved. Hey sensei, Naruto said. Shouldn't you treat your new team to a meal to help us celebrate and bond? The other two looked at him speculatively. Sighing, he nodded. Fine, you're probably all really hungry. They cheered and followed him out. As Naruto walked with them, he rubbed his nose. He was still getting used to his enhanced sense of smell, but there was no denying it was useful. As when he'd picked up Kakashi's scent as he struggled to free himself. He'd guessed that if Kakashi was nearby watching, there might still be a chance to pass. So he'd forgiven Sakura and played the part of the good teammate. He looked at Kakashi's back and hid a nasty little smile. Naruto held Tora out at arm's length. Though his many scratches would soon disappear, he still wanted to throttle the mangy thing. Nice job, team, Kakashi said with his usual over-exuberant tone. We captured our target in record time. Hopefully this will be the last time he escapes. The three members of Team 7 all shared a knowing look behind their sensei's back. This was already the third time they'd had to track down this annoying cat. It had been a little over a month since the bell test. In that time they had been busy performing various mind-numbing and utterly pointless tasks. Their normal routine was to meet at the bridge, wait a couple hours for their sensei to show, mosey over to the tower to be assigned a D-ranked mission, and then complete it. Depending on the nature of the mission and how long it took to complete, they would either return to the tower for a second mission or be dismissed for the day. Naruto was not happy with this. Kakashi had explained that these low-level missions were vital for them to acquire the necessary experience to tackle more difficult tasks. But he honestly couldn't see how catching runaway pets, walking dogs, or cleaning up vacant lots were supposed to help them prepare for anything. He'd assumed once he's passed the test, Kakashi would begin showing them all sorts of lethal techniques and amazing jutsus. All their sensei ever seemed to do was stand off to the side reading his little orange book while they worked. He had yet to teach them anything of value. Naruto hadn't wanted to complain to the Hokage, he was still trying to shed the appearance of a whiny kid. He had however gone and just talked to the old man while subtly mentioning he'd like to have someone teach him improve his taijutsu. The Hokage had grinned slightly at that, obviously getting his message. The old man had then replied just as circumspectly, telling him how fortunate he was to have a great ninja like Kakashi as a sensei, and how he should trust in his judgment. So the D ranks continued unabated. Since they'd bagged Tora so quickly, they were headed back to the tower for a second mission. When they arrived, the fire daimyo's wife was there to retrieve her pet and pay the mission fee. Seeing the way she half-smothered the cat almost made Naruto feel sorry for it. Almost. Another successful mission completed in under 2 hours, the Hokage said with a satisfied grin. Your team seems to be doing quite well, Kakashi. Oh, it's nothing really, Kakashi said pleasantly. His students all grunted and threw imaginary daggers into his back. Since you've gotten done so early, I'll let you choose your next assignment, the Hokage said. You can babysit, paint a fence, or dig up some vegetables. Naruto wanted to scream, none of the above, at the top of his lungs. He wanted a real mission that actually involved using some ninja skills. But throwing a tantrum in front of the old man wouldn't help with changing his image. Kakashi turned back to them with a hidden grin. Well team, what do you think? Whatever, I don't care, Sasuke grumbled. Naruto put on a big grin and turned to his other teammate. What do you want to do, Sakura-chan? The girl looked at him gratefully. Since the bell test, their relationship had drastically improved. He no longer asked her out or peppered her with compliments, but he was friendly enough. She was still devoted to getting Sasuke, but was much more reserved around him now. A lot of her confidence seemed to have left her after what he did. She was actually willing to talk to him and treat him as an equal. She wound up talking to him a lot more than she did to Sasuke. Why don't we paint the fence? That will probably be the easiest job. Naruto nodded enthusiastically. That's my vote then. Fine, whatever, Sasuke muttered. Looks like we have a winner, Kakashi said. The Hokage assigned them the mission and they were out the door. Sarutobi watched their departure with a certain satisfaction. When they'd had their test, he had used his crystal ball to observe them. Though it had gone horribly wrong at first, he was extremely proud of the way Naruto had acted towards Sakura and Sasuke. Despite all his hardships, the boy had somehow kept a good heart and was beginning to mature into a fine man and ninja. His ability with both shadow clones and with traps had also been impressive, a sign of real limitless potential. Sasuke's talk of being an avenger and caring only for power was troubling, but he had faith that Kakashi would help him find the right path. He also had a secret hope that he and Naruto would be able to form a strong bond and help each other. What is the next order of business? Sarutobi asked. One of his assistants scanned the papers in front of him. We still have that C rank to wave country that needs to be assigned. Sarutobi nodded. Oh yes, the escort mission. He looked at a list of available squads. It was just a low-level C rank, so any competent team would do. Assign Renji and his Genin squad. The assistant made a note on one of his papers. Yes, Hokage-sama. The job was done in 15 minutes time. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had painted an old faded wood fence a bright shade of yellow. They'd been helped by 20 of Naruto's shadow clones. Naruto had offered to do the whole job himself, but Kakashi insisted that they all had to work. While he sat in a chair reading. When they were done, the homeowner came out and nodded his approval. He paid Kakashi the mission fee. Well, there's still plenty of daylight left, Kakashi said, teasing them. Shall we go for a third? All three students groaned. Chuckling, Kakashi spoke. All right, that'll be it for one day. I'll go report into the tower. You're dismissed for the day. We'll meet again tomorrow at 10. They all knew that meant Kakashi would be there right around noon. Here, he handed each of them 300 ryu. That was 10% of the mission fee, the standard commission for members of a squad. As squad leader, Kakashi was entitled to 20%, while the village would receive the remaining 50. It wasn't much, but it wasn't bad for 15 minutes work. Kakashi vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. With their sensei gone, Sasuke wordlessly turned to go. Sasuke. Would you, maybe wait too? Sakura asked fearfully. No, Sasuke answered flatly and kept right on going. Sakura lowered her head in defeat. She used to believe with total conviction that they would end up together. Now she wasn't so sure. When he knocked her out during their test, that was proof that he didn't respect her. She knew she needed to get his respect but didn't know how. Naruto gave her a friendly pat on the shoulder. Serves you right, you dumb fangirl. Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan, he'll come around eventually. She looked up at him with a grateful smile. Do you really think so, Naruto-kun? Sure, he said and turned to go. See you tomorrow. Hey Naruto. Wait. What is it, Sakura? You want to get something to eat? I'm really hungry and I don't feel like going home just yet. Unlike with Sasuke, she felt no nervousness about asking Naruto. Since he had stopped trying to date her, she felt completely comfortable being alone with him. Can we get ramen? Sure, why not? They were sitting together at Ichiraku's, each enjoying a bowl of ramen and some pleasant conversation. So how long do you think it'll be before we actually do a real mission? Sakura asked. About another 5 months, Naruto said morosely. He'll probably have us do these dumb D ranks the whole time we're on probation. Sakura grimaced. Do you really think so? Well, I don't know for sure or anything, I hope not. But the way my life usually goes, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think we'll be doing this that long, Sakura said cheerfully. I talked to Ino and she says her sensei promised them they'd move on to better missions within a few more weeks. Their sensei is the old man's son, right? Naruto asked. Yes, Sarutobi Asuma. Sakura agreed. Well, their sensei might, as for ours. Naruto took one hand and covered his left eye. With his other he mimed holding a book open. We'll go on a more challenging mission when I think you're ready. Oh, and you missed some dog poop over there. Sakura burst out into laughter. That's perfect. Well, I've heard him say it often enough. Naruto got back to his ramen. You know, I wouldn't mind these dumb missions half so much if he would actually train us. I mean, isn't a sensei supposed to instruct his students on what they need to know? Sakura nodded her agreement. I know, the way things are we'll end up going on our first mission not knowing anything more than we did when we graduated the academy. For Naruto that wasn't true. He'd spent the last month sparring with his clones while awake and studying the Kibaku Bunshin no Jutsu while asleep. He hoped to have it down soon. He was improving all the time even without his sensei's help. But with it he would have improved even faster. He resented Kakashi and his lackadaisical attitude. From their fight he knew the Jonin was very capable and was willing to bet he knew a lot of things that would be really useful. It was frustrating as hell knowing Kakashi could be helping him grow strong but was choosing not to out of simple indifference. He needed to become powerful and having Kakashi as his sensei was getting in his way. Hey, look who it is. Team Probation. A loud abrasive voice called from the street. He and Sakura both turned to see Kiba grinning at them with his little white dog sitting on his head. Standing next to him were Shino and that quiet weirdo Hinata. It annoyed him that the other teams knew they had been placed on probation. Rumors in Konoha always spread fast. Don't you two look sweet? Kiba barked. You on a date? Don't be a baka. Sakura yelled at him. I want to be with Sasuke-kun. There's nothing wrong with having something to eat with a friend and teammate. I don't know, Kiba teased. You look pretty chummy. Normally Naruto would have jumped in but his attention was momentarily distracted. He was looking at the girl in the bulky tan jacket. There was a pungent scent coming off of her in strength. Why is she feeling jealous? As soon as she noticed he was looking at her, Hinata's face became a deep crimson. Kiba-kun, let's go please. She hurriedly grabbed him by the arm and pulled him down the street. He protested but let himself be dragged away. How did they end up passing the test? Sakura muttered angrily. She looked over and saw her teammate still staring in the direction Kiba and the others had gone in. Hey Naruto, don't let what that idiot said bother you. What? Oh, right, Sakura-chan. He smiled and turned back towards her. What had distracted him hadn't had anything to do with Kiba. When Hinata had noticed him looking at her, a different scent had come out. It was the same scent he got from Sakura whenever she would begin to stare at Sasuke. It was a scent that meant physical attraction. No way, it couldn't be. Is Hinata attracted to me? It seemed wholly impossible. No girl liked him, that was a fact. There was no way Hinata could like him the way Sakura liked Sasuke. And yet, that was what his nose was telling him. Quickly shaking his head, he put it out of his mind for now. A week later they were reporting to the tower just after 12 noon for an assignment. The Hokage eyed the squad with interest. Well Kakashi, do you think your team is ready to handle a mission outside the village? Instantly all three students perked up. Kakashi sighed heavily. They'll probably all either get lost or killed, but I suppose there's no avoiding it. He nodded his head. Yes Hokage-sama. I feel Team 7 is competent, if just barely, to handle such a mission. Very well, we've received a request to provide security for a small festival in the village of Hokkaido in northern Fire Country. It should only take a week's time and be simple enough to complete. It's a C-rank mission. All right, Naruto shouted. It's about time. Quiet Dobi, Sasuke said. But even he looked a little excited. Kakashi grinned and took the assignment from the Hokage. All right team, we'll be leaving tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp and be gone for about 7 days. Go home and make whatever preparations you need to. Meet me at the gate tomorrow with all your weapons and equipment, and don't be late. Team 7 was about to get their first real taste of ninja life. That's it for part 1 of Naruto's Pain, The Rise of a Villain. If you enjoyed this darker alternate timeline, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic Naruto what-if stories. Comment below, what should be the moment that fully pushes Naruto over the edge? See you in part 2.